So here we are at the launch of Fitbit's second smartwatch in just under a year. In October 2017, they released the Fitbit Ionic to a lukewarm reception thanks in part to its high price point of around $300 and in part due to its industrial design. Fast forward 6 months, we now have the Fitbit Versa. It has a completely refreshed design as well as a price point of only $200. It's clear that Fitbit hopes that this will revive their smartwatch ambitions. So how does it fare? I'm James Frew from MakeUseOf.com, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Fitbit Versa, and we also have one to give away to a lucky viewer. Thankfully, this is not the Ionic Part 2. The design is completely refreshed, and gone is the industrial design of the Ionic, and in its place is something much more akin to the Apple Watch or the original Pebble devices. It's slim and unobtrusive, with a small square screen, and it fits nicely on your wrist. First, when you handle it, it looks a little bit too small, but as soon as it's on your wrist, it fits perfectly. It has a colour LCD touchscreen surrounded by a black bezel and an aluminium body. It has just 3 hardware buttons, one on the left for activating the screen and 2 on the right for shortcuts to your favourite apps. Although the Versa comes in various different colours, there isn't a lot of room for customisation as Fitbit has its own proprietary watch straps. Fortunately though, they do offer you some options. That ranges from about $30 for a classic strap up to about $90 for a metal linked strap. On the back of the device, you'll find the charging point connectors, as well as the optical heart rate sensor and something called an SpO2 monitor. Speaking of the charging connectors, unlike nearly every other smartwatch I've ever seen or reviewed, the Versa actually comes with a dock. It's really easy to use as well. You just pinch the sides, slot the Versa in, and it's charging. It's only a small thing, but it's a nice addition to have. The official Fitbit specifications give it a battery life of about 4 days, but in practice that turned out to be more like 2. One of the upsides to Fitbit's acquisition of the smartwatch company Pebble was the introduction of something called Fitbit OS. It originally debuted on the Ionic back in 2017, but back then it had a few performance issues and bugs. Now it's only been about 6 months since the Ionic was released, so the software is pretty much the same, except the Versa doesn't seem to be affected by any software bugs or performance issues. The Versa is easy and quite straightforward to use, and the touchscreen controls are really intuitive. Now given that it is a Fitbit device, the default clock face puts your Fitbit stats front and center. All you have to do is just activate the watch screen and they're right there for you. Once the screen is activated, all you need to do is swipe left and you get to see all the apps that are installed on your Versa. These include default ones like Exercise, Coach, Alarms, and Relax, which is a 2-minute mindful breathing exercise. With Fitbit OS, Fitbit has also opened up development to third-party developers, so they do have an app store. If you open the Fitbit app on your smartphone, then you'll be able to browse all the various apps that are available for the Versa and other Fitbit OS devices. Now most of these are a bit lackluster, to be honest. So I can't imagine you're going to spend much time browsing, installing, or even using any of them. I did try installing an air quality monitor, but when I tried to use it, it said that I needed to give it location access, which I'd already done. So in the end I couldn't make it work. Now Fitbit made its name in fitness tracking, so most of its favourite features are still here. So you still have step counting, activity and sleep tracking, and heart rate monitoring. Unfortunately for those fitness enthusiasts out there, there is no inbuilt GPS. So instead, if you want to have location tracking for any activities you do, you're going to need an active connection to your smartphone. Now the one place that Fitbit OS falls down is in its phone integration. The Apple Watch and Google's Wear OS devices have deep integrations into their smartphone platforms, which enable you to view and reply to notifications and also talk to their smart assistants. And unfortunately, Fitbit OS lacks these kind of capabilities. But the Versa does have a load of other features. So in 2017, Fitbit appears to have decided that what the world needed the most was another contactless payment method. So they brought up the imaginatively titled Fitbit Pay. It works pretty much like any other contactless payment system with an NFC chip built into the device, but it has the same stumbling points as many of the others do, which is a lack of support from many banks and financial institutions around the world. For instance, here in the UK, there are only 2 supported, and they were both very specific credit cards, neither of which I had, so I couldn't test it. For any swimming enthusiasts out there, one of the most interesting features of the Versa will be that it is marked as water resistant up to 50 meters. Now this seems like great news at first, but then if you do a little bit digging, you sort of see that there might be a few issues with this. For one, it has no IP or ATM rating, which is an industry standard rating for waterproof or water resistance. Now this in itself isn't necessarily a problem, as Fitbit does say it is water resistant up to 50 meters. And it could be that Fitbit just chose not to have the test done because of cost or something else. But if you head over into their user support forums, you find a post from a Fitbit employee that says that you should not swim with the Versa. Now that directly contradicts Fitbit's own support advice, which says that if it's marked as water resistant up to 50 meters, then you can use it for swimming. Now all of this just leads to some confusion about whether you can or can't wear the device underwater and how you should take care of it, or if you're protected if it does break with water damage. In all likelihood, it's probably fine, and maybe Fitbit is just being unclear with the way that they present things. Who knows? But the Versa does come with a swimming mode, so it should be fine. Some of the Versa's most exciting features though aren't available just yet. Earlier on I mentioned that it has an SpO2 sensor. Now this is used to monitor blood oxygen levels, and Fitbit says that maybe in the future they'll turn it on so that you can track conditions like sleep apnea. Now they did also say that with the release of the Ionic, so you're looking sort of 7-8 months on and that sensor is still inactive. That's not to say that they won't activate it in the future, but don't hold your breath. The Versa also marks the first time that Fitbit have entered into something which they've termed female health. Now what this really is period tracking. There are a number of apps already on the market that enable you to do this, but Fitbit says that it has something special lined up. What it wants to be able to do is let you track your period, but then also compare it to other metrics that you're gaining from your Fitbit device, like your step count or how well you've slept and other things like that. However, just as with the SpO2 monitor, there is no timeline for when they were going to activate this, so I wouldn't recommend buying the Fitbit Versa on the basis of this feature. So the Versa may not be a smartwatch in the traditional sense. I mean, it is a watch that has some smart features, but it doesn't have that deep connection to your smartphone. So in reality then, what it really is a very brilliant iteration of Fitbit's fitness trackers. It does everything that you would expect from a Fitbit device. Throw in the other two not quite activated features and maybe you're going to have a really great device on your hands. Thanks very much for watching, and we hope you enjoyed this review. As we said at the beginning, we do have a Fitbit Versa to give away to a lucky viewer. Head over to the link in the description below for details of how to enter. And subscribe to make use of for weekly tech tutorials and giveaways. And we'll see you in the next one.